Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey. And on this video, I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss why it is that the so-called science of dog training is really a dream ideology for the narcissist based on what it represents. And on this video, I'm going to go through some of the characteristics just so people understand that what I'm really stating is that the people who are promoting this ideology as science are in fact narcissists, and that it's pretty much impossible not to be based on what this ideology represents for both dogs and other people. And so to understand the flawed tenet, and again, I show this very clearly, that everything that this ideology is based on and what it's built from is in fact flawed. That there's a serious problem by way of how the picture of change is painted, how it sets up through response, through using learning theory via using treats as a motivating agent, and what that represents at the social relational level, with how a dog's decision-making process is governed at that level, and how the focus will shift onto the dog rather than the owner as the agent of change. And so therefore, what happens is that the dog will devalue the owner, will go into the positions that represent or within the interpretive script of those who promote learning this way as a picture of change, when in reality it oftentimes is a complete counterfeit. And the trainers who are promoting learning theory this way are not looking at the relational motives that underpin their script. They're just giving it a green light. And so therefore, they're not looking at the type of influence that's taking hold between dogs and owners. This is the number one problem in the dog training world today. And I'm probably one of the only trainers you're going to find talking about this issue this way. I'm really pinning it down. But then going further and saying, looking at the ideology as to some of the questions as to, why is it that many of those who promote this ideology would rather give up on dogs or medicate dogs rather than promote leadership, promote owners coming into right relationship, and why they want to blame shift. Well, think about narcissism. Ultimately, the narcissist is really, they're promoting a false identity. And the core issue with the narcissist is a lack of empathy. And so it fits perfectly it comes right alongside this ideology, because all the type of characteristics that go part and parcel, hand in hand with narcissism, represent this ideology. You'll see them within this. This is why, if you look at the issue of why dogs are devalued, even though this narrative, again, it's a false narrative, that's being promoted, that this is positive reward based, which implies it's love. It's not. It's about self. And just like narcissism is about the individual, it's not about other people, and they devalue other people. This ideology is the same thing. It's based on the human. It's based on the needs of the person who's promoting this ideology. So therefore, when dogs don't conform for this ideology, they're devalued. Okay, there's a blame shifting. And just like, again, the narcissist will blame shift. And again, lack of responsibility. They won't take responsibility. That's why those who promote this ideology will not look at the problem. Okay, they will promote it as, over promote it, and not just over promote it. They won't look at the serious issue here, because it's not about evidence that way. I mean, it's very clear there's a major problem here, but these people, I believe the majority of them are narcissists. Therefore, they just want to move forward. They don't want to take responsibility, and there's a lack of credibility. So it's very unethical. So the motives don't line up. So here it's the same thing with a narcissistic person. The person that will, in fact, there's a pretty good point here. The person who is able to unmask the narcissist is typically not those who are on kind of like the outer edges of the personal relationship with the narcissist, because they'll come off very charming. Just like, think about it, just like this ideology comes off very charming. It's very appealing, because it promotes the narrative, again, another false narrative, that you can have your cake and eat it too. Okay, that you can focus on yourself and you can learn your way. This is how learning theory is promoted. It's just the same thing as permissive parenting. There's no discipline or physical force is again taken out of context, is misrepresented. So there's this issue being misrepresented as well. So you have both learning theory being exploited, you have physical force being misrepresented. Just think of the narcissist, and you get the motives not lining up. Okay, so just like the narcissistic person will go through the motions, okay, of keeping the game going. I mean, they clearly they'll mimic emotion, because again, it's all about them, so they have to keep the game afoot. But that's why, again, the people that will unmask the real motives of the narcissist will be the person that has a close relationship with them. They'll say, "This ain't, something's not lining up here. I have a feeling this person lacks empathy," because that's the core issue with the narcissistic person, is they lack empathy, and this ideology lacks empathy. Okay, it's not about meeting the needs of another that way at all. It really isn't. So therefore, the motives that underpin this ideology are bad. They don't line up. Just like the narcissist. So this ideology, again, it's a perfect fit for the narcissistic person, because there's a failure to address the real problem, and it has nowhere to go. This is the thing. The level at which learning theory is exploited through this ideology is such that there's no coming back. Okay, there's a turning over process. Just like the narcissistic person can't. When you research this, you'll see that they can't be fixed. Therapy doesn't help. Just like this ideology, it can't be fixed. Okay, just so people understand, it's almost identical. That's why it's those are promoting it. I guarantee you, you're going to find people promoting this are narcissists. They're clearly, because it's impossible. It is impossible to promote these to especially knowing better or having the experience of knowing, and then because there's a kind of a decision point you come up against where you have to be intentional about crossing lines here. I look at this stuff, and if you really understand it, you have a up close and personal view of this ideology, and you really can peel it back, you'll see that why it is that I'll say that the people promoting this are they have to be narcissists. There's no doubt about it. That's why you get a lot of them using fake accounts, because there's no ethics that underpin any of this. If there was, they would stop and they would address the issue here, but they won't. That's why they'll go into a rage. You'll get people promoting this, they'll go in and they'll get really personal. But again, you start to pin this down, and I would encourage you to really look at the core flaw here, and by way of learning theory, and you'll see why it's just this ideology is built on exploitation, even exploiting the emotions of owners. And that's what narcissists do. Just understand that. That's why I say this is a narcissistic ideology, because it's built on exploitation. So narcissists, what they do is they'll exploit people. They'll exploit emotions. And this ideology is all about exploiting the emotions of dog owners that are in need of help. It's just drawing them in. So a lot of the dog owners, they have their own motives for doing it, which aren't good either, for buying into it. But a lot of them being deceived. But the actual behaviorists promoting this are clearly narcissists. I have no doubt about it. So just understand that if you're trying to figure this stuff out, to unmask it, you have to have an up close and personal relationship with this ideology to understand what underpins it, the motives in play here. There's nothing good. It's very destructive. Nothing good comes out of it, because just like permissive parenting, the real issue doesn't get fixed. Just understand, if you're trying to fix your dog or resolve behavior issues by using learning theory this way, it doesn't end well typically, and you'll be totally deceived, because the picture of change, it'll look like it's the real deal, and oftentimes it's a total counterfeit, because those promoting it are not interested in meeting a dog's relational needs that way. It's all about themselves. Just understand, it's totally about the person. It's a very, very selfish, self-centered ideology. And just like those promoting, I guarantee you, they're narcissists. So there's no doubt about it. I haven't seen anything different. It just all lines up. All the dominoes fall the same way. So anyway, thanks for watching.